Terrifying and brutal murders are occurring all over London. Vanessa Ives and Sir Malcolm Murray investigate supernatural occurrences. They team up with Dr. Victor Frankenstein and an American gunslinger to try and uncover what is behind the deaths in Penny Dreadful.
Hi, I'm Brenna, here with Salim and Kevin to talk about the new Showtime drama, Penny Dreadful. We've had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes, and we've all just seen it. Salim, how about you start us off?
I didn't really know a lot about the show going into it. It just seemed like it was going to be something similar to American Horror Story, kind of a scary show, dealing with all types of different occult monsters, that type of thing. And so I kind of started understanding what the show was. It's an amalgamation of all these pulp stories kind of together in this Victorian English world, but because it started off so different and grounded, once you get to the end of the episode and realizing what the show's about, it just didn't connect with me.
It did not start grounded at all. It starts off with a vampire fight.
And somebody gets sucked out of a window when she's going to the bathroom.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the part of it that was a little bit too pulpy for me. But then after that, immediately after that, once we meet the main characters, once we are kind of introduced into this world, I enjoyed it because it wasn't extremely exposition-y. You're kind of just dropped into this world trying to figure out how these characters connect or how they're going to connect. When it ends with Frankenstein, there was just a disconnect. When I wasn't expecting it, and two, it just didn't feel like the world that they were, laying the groundwork for.
But that was so cool.
Yeah, no, see, I knew absolutely nothing about the show. I'd seen the billboards around town. I hadn't read a synopsis. I literally knew nothing except that Bond was in it. Mm-hmm. And I sat down to watch it, and the moment they introduced the character on screen of Frankenstein poking around with that arm, yeah. I assumed that he was a Frankenstein-like creature. Yeah. And as soon as he announced himself as Frankenstein, I went, this is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen done right. If you watched the 2003 film and thought, this is sort of a cool concept, I wish they'd done it well, this is that concept. We have a sort of Tom Sawyer-like character. We have famous literary characters. We have Victor Frankenstein, and we have Dorian Gray.
Exactly.
And now I'm excited to see who else is going to join this little ragtag team.
Because if you notice, is Timothy Dalton's character is looking for his daughter, Mina Harker, and we know Mina Harker is from Dracula.
You know what? I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It started reminding me of Van Helsing, which is another...
But done right.
But no. I mean,
it's like I had League of Extraordinary Gentlemen meets Van Helsing.
But I had the same kind of feeling. It was too much. It was too unfocused. There's too many characters. I felt again similar to American Horror Story in the second season. They're just presenting all this craziness in the first 2 episodes that it's hard to kind of disseminate it. There's just too much going on.
I thought it was quite simple. Actually.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. There's a lot going on, but I feel like they know what they're doing with it. Whereas American Horror Story, every single season, they don't know what they're doing, and they throw things at the screen. They see what sticks, and then they start pulling from it, and then they let everything else drop. Whereas this, I feel like they know exactly what's happening, and they know how it's all going to combine.
A place in the shadows, rarely seen but deeply felt, where some unfortunate souls are cursed to live always.
The story is very compelling, the writing is very sharp, but I think the acting is probably what is the most fantastic about this show. Timothy Dalton is incredible. He's only been a villain recently, so it's nice to see him sort of playing a questionable guy, but he's overall a good guy, and he's really strong in this role.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic. He was great. I was like, hey, James Bond, I haven't seen you in a minute, but it's good to see you actually being like a lead and not just kind of just being there like, oh, let's have James Bond in this movie. And he was good. What did you guys think about
Josh Hartnett surprised me because he's disappeared.
Yeah.
And the poor guy, like his career just kind of faltered, and now he kind of seems like a Brolin. Yeah. He's kind of gruff. He actually is a lot more sexy now that he's older. He seemed a little bit more solid with his character. The character hasn't really developed that much, but it starts to develop.
I don't think we're going to get much of Josh Hartnett.
You don't?
And that's the thing was surprising to me. Second episode, I was like, wait, he's barely in this episode.
Well, in the opening credits, he's listed as and Josh Hartnett, which means he's not going to be in it very much.
So that's what it said. Which also seemed strange because it felt like parts of the second episode felt filler to me, and I think
everything with Josh Hartnett and Billie Piper was a little bit like, what's going on here? Why is this happening? But I'm sure it seems like a plant. It's going to pay off later on.
But then there are also scenes that are extremely long.
But that was,
they're-
I was
they're filling
fascinated by that.
time.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
Which
that literally, my mouth
seance.
kept on dropping.
The seance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that seance was amazing, which let's bring it around to
Eva Green.
Eva Green, who
Green.
normally I'm not a big fan of because I feel she's very cold and she's always just cold. But
That's what this role
that's what
needs.
this role is.
and yeah, but that was like
essentially.
she's doing her usual shtick. But that scene, as over the top as it was, and as long as it was, and how extended she had to do this for, I was like, Emmy. at the
I
end
don't.
of it.
It
It
got
was
to a
an extremely
point.
strong performance. It was
Yeah.
because she's very controlled and she's stern and she is a sort of psychic character. But that's the scene where we got to see her let go and be crazy, and it wasn't bad crazy. Penny Dreadful is a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen done right. It's beautiful, literary, creepy, and compelling. See it.
This is one of the most original horror concepts on television in years. I'm jealous that I didn't come up with it first, and I'm dying to see where it goes. See it.
Penny Dreadful does have a fascinating world and some interesting characters. However, it's a bit too pulpy, and in the first 2 episodes, it was too much for me to wrap my head around. Stream it.
Well, our votes add up to 2.5 tickets, which is a see it for Penny Dreadful. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. The logistics of the whole
Let
thing.
it go. Let it go.
Oh, golly.